Another Sunday is here with us, and we are live on Citi TV. It's Scorecard here. Apologies for the late start to the show. The elements just causing a bit of havoc there, but permit us to get right into it. Today, we'll be getting into the CAF Champions League big games. Mamelodi Sundowns, they were in action. We'll be talking about that. Arsenal, today was the day when perhaps they said bye-bye to the EPL title. It was an absolute humbling at the Emirates at the hands of Brighton and Hove Albion. I'm not sure that there's ever been a time where a team has spent such a long spell at the top of the table and given it up. I'm not sure it's ever happened before. We'll try and see if we can make sense of that, but a lot happening in the other leagues as well. A lot to be won, a lot to be decided as far as the bottom half of the tables are also concerned. Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, I'll introduce my gentlemen and then we'll start talking. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Citi TV. Good evening to Susu Graham. Good evening to Coach Nimley.
Good evening, Charlie.
What's going on, gentlemen?
Charlie, cool.
Just, you know.
Just like some people, Charlie. Look, Arsenal,
Oh,
Charlie.
is that how you are starting the show?
Yeah, man. How am I supposed to start? Look, I had banked my hopes on them.
Yeah?
That they will make sure
That your noisy neighbors
Charlie,
won't equal a certain record.
just behaving like a typical Langard. This sort of Langardic behavior at the top is unacceptable.
what?
Langardic. When they were Langard, you were lonely at the top. No, you were just guarding the place for the true owners to come and take over.
Man.
What is this?
Man.
Charlie, I'm hurt.
Well, the manner in which that defeat was administered today will definitely hurt. I always say that I always want to be in the dressing rooms when such defeats happen. I want to see what the atmosphere is like. I want to hear what the manager's post-game talk is like. I want to know how players interact with each other. But what's caught your attention this weekend of sports?
Oh, I think it's all the sports. So you can see the NBA, the conference finals are being set up.
Yep.
I mean, the conference finals in the West is set, I believe.
Yeah.
The conference finals in the East is set.
Yeah.
NHL, they're in a similar part of their season. They're in a similar part of their season. They are setting up their conference finals. We see our Champions League semi-finals are also being set up. We've played our first leg. So I think the world of sports, we are moving towards a very exciting June. So they are setting up June very nicely for us. So because the NBA finals, they've penciled the start dates for 1st June, for example. So the Stanley Cup final will also be around the same time. So a lot of things are about to happen. A lot of championships are about to be won. League titles are being secured. Barca secured the league title this evening. So we are reaching the kind of the championship zone of the season. So it's very exciting to watch. So the whole sports world is just it's just lovely.
Exciting times indeed. Like Susu did rightly mention, Barcelona have secured the Spanish title. A lot of other things happening. Southampton secured their tickets to the championship, and so did Salisu and Kamaldeen Sulemana. We'll be talking about that in a bit. But let's start off with the CAF Champions League. Let's get to that game between Wydad and Mamelodi Sundowns. We'll also get to that game between Esperance de Tunis and Al Ahly Football Club. So back-to-back highlights of those CAF Champions League games will come in studio and discuss. So the semi-finals of the CAF Champions League also coming along nicely. Mamelodi Sundowns getting 2 red cards, but still managing to finish the game goalless. And then I saw Al Ahly there, Percy Tau. He earns $100,000 a month. Al Ahly can pay big money. Let's talk about that first game. Mamelodi Sundowns going down 2 men, but still managing to hold their own away from home. And with that, a very difficult team to play when they're at home.
Yeah, I think it was a very impressive result. I think you go 2 goals down. I mean, 2 men down, and you still get away with a draw. You can count yourself lucky, especially because the first red card was in the first half. But that makes the second leg a lot harder because there's a reason these people were playing in the semi-final in the first place. They are players the coach trusts. So you don't want to be without them for the second leg. It makes it all that more difficult. But I still believe that with the quality they have, it should be a very good game. But if I believe they were at home actually in the first leg. Yeah, they were at home.
No, Sundowns went away.
Sundowns were away.
Yeah, they went away.
Okay, if it's away, then they're in a very good position then. Because if you are now going home, you've been able to get the
goalless draw.
The only downside is there's no away goal to kind of give you a boost because away goals still count in Africa. But I think aside that, it's a very impressive performance. And just talking about the pay and that kind of stuff, it shows why these teams are where they are in the competition. You have to invest. I mean, we saw Percy Tau, a former Premier League player. he's not going to come for small
the
wages.
purchase him for 1.4 million.
Yeah, the transfer fee, the wages, people are investing in their football. So you have to pay money to reach this stage. And it just shows, and I even left them out on talking about my competition that I reach in the business end. This is the business end of the CAF Champions League. So
and it's the same teams all the time.
It's the investment.
Wydad will be there, Alali will be there.
I
These
mean,
days, Sundowns are becoming a mainstay.
Alali have won like 10. They've been to like 15 finals. Like,
if they don't go to the finals, they'll fire the coach.
Yeah, actually, if they don't win, they'll fire their coach. That's they are the Real Madrid of Africa, really. When you see it like that, so it's a big deal for them. They come every year with the mentality that they have to win it. We always see Esperance is there. Sundowns have also, they had a period where they came, they went down, they're back again.
They look like they are being properly
managed. And
managed
it's good to see the South African teams also show there's some diversity in the continent. It's not just the North African teams. But I'd like to see some more West African teams make some noise. Few East African teams. Not seeing TP Mazembe and the other Congolese.
Mimosa have not been big in a bit. So
but I think that's all down to investment. I think in those countries, that investment they look at is not where it is. Because if you look at Egypt's economy and South Africa's economy, their economies are a bit more ahead. So there's more money to put
in football. Coach, quick thoughts on even the referee at the center. Daniel Lai was at the center of this game. Showed 2 red cards. Very firm of him to be able to show 2 red cards on such a big stage like that.
Yeah, I watched the entire 90 minutes of the Sundowns with that game. And look, and Nketia, let me admit, the Sundowns team, I think they win the tournament. Because by far they've been the best team of the tournament. Because this is a team that scored over 35 goals in the group stages. And yesterday the commentator, they've blown everybody. And yesterday, but for the red card, they would have blown away Wadak at home. Because until the red card, they had 70% possession. And even when they went a man down, the audacity with which they were playing the football was absolutely brilliant. And if you were not aware that they've been shown a red card, and you come and you sit and watch the game, you say, wow, a South African team going to North Africa and looking very composed. Look, truth be told, they reminded me of the House of Folk team of 2000, where home or away, they would go. It didn't matter. It never mattered at all. They went and they played their own game. And for me, look, Wydad has got no chance whatsoever in South Africa. The manner in which Sundowns showed that they are indeed a footballing team. Every single player understands the chemistry. And the manner in which they were just controlling. See, if you are playing in the north, something that the Ghanaian team would never survive in recent, or has never survived in recent time. These guys went there, and the noise. But they didn't, look, they were not bothered at all. They could take the ball, pass it, control it with some cheeky ease.
They've reached a certain level.
Of course, if you can afford to pay 3 million euros from a player from Uruguay to come and play for Sundown, if they are paying the sort of money they are paying, then it is clear that they've got players who are very ready and up to whatever pressure there is to be presented. And they were absolutely brilliant yesterday. On the part of Elali, I think they've shown again and again and again and again. But when it comes to Champions League, they are indeed the Real Madrid of Africa. Look, when I see these things, the only thing that comes to mind, Susu said he wants to see more of the West African teams. I want to see more of the Ghanaian team, the Kotoko, the Hasselhoff, the Diana. It's not about playing to win our league and go there and put up shambolic performances without lifting the flag of Ghana to where it should be. But truth be told, we are 10, 15 years behind this level. Without a doubt.
That is a damning truth.
That is the damning truth. And those in charge of our game are doing practically nothing to realize that we are lacking behind year after year. We are being left behind. The gap is widening. What can we do to close the gap? This weekend on Friday, we had our women's game come to a climax. The final of the Women's League in Ghana. How much is given to the owner or to the one who won? 50,000 Ghana cedis.
That's about $5,000.
That's about 5,000. What is that? And we have the FA people after World Cup sharing $100,000 per management member. And Ketokreku sits there and he thinks that this is the right way to manage Ghana football. It's an eyesore. It's an eyesore. So at the end of the day, is it Apim Dakwan? They won the cup, isn't it?
Yep.
They will now, in going to Wafu, they will have to go around what? Begging.
Do you remember when Hazak's
leading?
Didn't they reach the final in the
begging?
end? Look, they did so well to
They
reach
did
the
so
final,
well.
but they nearly went.
They barely had to. They had to go begging for alms to get a ticket, to
Can
get
you
a hotel.
imagine? Can you imagine? You see, if you do these things, some of them will sit back and say, look, it's time to change Ketokreko. Get rid of him. Look, he's not being of any good to our football. Because if the winners of our women's league is given 50,000 Ghana cedis as prize money, goodness me, for heaven's sake, you don't deserve to be in the
That's 2 air tickets. Let's say they have to go and play Morocco.
Can you
That's
imagine?
2 air tickets. That's it. So
You
maybe you take your goalkeeper and your striker and hope for the best or something. Like,
If you win the Ghana League, how much do you get? I think close to $30,000 or so. That is a peanut. So our teams, we should look. We should even put a stop to the Ghanaian League. Because look, Ghana will win the league,
I said it before.
and they will get knocked out after the first 2 games. And
They will even struggle to raise funds to
to even
compete.
go there.
That's the truth.
To even go there.
They'll struggle to raise funds to compete. But I feel like we are even beginning to sound like a broken record on these things.
but it's painful.
Yeah,
It's very painful.
the football
Look,
needs
if
to
you
be
watch
done.
the quality, look, the standard is just like, that's why of late, when our team, the African team, go to the World Club, they don't go and disgrace themselves. They are able to battle, at least get to the semi-finals, win bronze medal in such competition. We are just a step or 2 away from challenging in the Champions League proper. Because this Sundance Elali team, they can have their own against any team in the world.
Well, I'm sure we'll probably see them at a Club World Cup or something of the sort. Let's take our first break here. When we come back, we'll get into Europe. Some interesting action from the Premier League there. Interesting results. We'll talk about Kamal Din and Mohamed Salisu. What's next for them? Are they going to play in the Championship? Are they changing clubs? All that to come on Scorecard. Stay with us. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Citi TV. Let's now get to the Premier League, and let's start off with that game between Fulham and Southampton. Southampton were hoping for a miracle of some sort to give them a miracle exit from that relegation zone, but the result on the day was a reflection of what they've been all season. They lost to Fulham by 2-0, meaning that 2 of our Ghanaian brothers have suffered relegation. We'll also check out Chelsea Football Club. They were up against Nottingham Forest, another relegation-threatened team. Chelsea with nothing to play for, but as things stand now, they have a lot of say in how a lot of things will play out, be it relegation, be it the title, and whatnot. Let's check out the highlights of both games. We'll come back in studio and discuss. Welcome back. Let's get into the conversation of our Southampton brothers. Salisu, Kamal Din. Coach, let me start off with you. Tough decisions to make. Salisu, we hear, has been attracting interest. Now, it's even before the relegation. Kamal Din, though, just bought record signing. Now in the Championship, we don't know if there was a relegation release clause or not. But what do you think should happen? Should he embrace the Championship? Should he go play in there? I'm talking about Kamal Din. Then you can touch on Salisu as well.
You remember when we're doing Donkome?
Yeah.
And Kamal Din's move to Southampton was announced. I was so mad because at the time there was Leipzig,
Yeah.
there was Everton, and there was Southampton. And I felt that his advisors should have taken him to Leipzig because the Leipzig people saw him as a player still undergoing development.
Yeah.
He's not the
And
end
Leipzig
product.
is actually a development club.
Exactly. And the young man
Yeah.
is not the end product.
Yeah.
He's far from being an end product. But those people in charge, his advisors, his agent, his managers, maybe they saw that Southampton was offering them the most money, giving him the most salary. So let's go after money. I really didn't like that idea. And I did say that he's going to a team that will be relegated.
I remember we did bring.
You understand?
Whether it was
And
worth
I was so mad at the time. Now
It has happened.
it has happened. So whether he likes it or not, I'm not sure a team will make you their most expensive player and insert a clause that says that if we get relegated,
You can leave.
of course, they are there. Anybody who is ready to match whatever they are going to put on him in terms of money, he can leave, of course, because they say, yes, if there's any player in that team who's supposed to help them out of the Championship, Kamal Din should be one of them. So in his case, it's a bit delicate. Again, the offer will compel Southampton to sell or not to sell. That's what the part of Salisu. We all know that he's already put himself on the market.
Yeah.
And for the fact that he's left-footed centre-back, most of the teams in the EPL or even in the other top European league
we'll
would definitely look at him. So for him, I'm not sure.
Worried
Even look, he's refused to extend his contract with Southampton because of the offer that is coming. And they wanted him to extend so that they'll up the money.
Price,
and he refused to extend because
it can complicate the transfer.
The Southampton problem has been coming. This team finally has been relegated because of some bad decisions taken by those, the owner, the board, and everybody.
And we've spoken about it time and again.
Sold
players for big money.
Sell players for big money and hope to go and get players, very inexperienced players,
to come
and get them patched up. You see, they bring them, they get them patched up, hoping that they will survive. Now it's dawned on you. You've been relegated. And at the end of the day, as to whether, look, their biggest asset, in my view, is their captain. I'm not sure he's going to go down. What price is not going to go down with them?
The news on that is that he has actually been given an option to leave now that they've been relegated.
Because he's been a proper servant. He stayed with them up to now. So for him, they cannot hold him.
I wonder if they will extend that to come out.
No, they wouldn't. They made him the best. He will have to go there. For me, I will be happy if he goes and play in the championship. Because if those managing a young man is all about the money, forgetting that this is a young player
who's still
being developed. Take him to Leipzig. He will never get relegated there. The French boy is leaving, is coming to Chelsea. They saw him as a replacement to that Nkoku boy. And from the way the German league plays, look, of all the top 5 European league, the German league is the worst in terms of defending. Lots of space. Get him to develop proper. Then after 2-3 years, then you can bring him to the English Premier and come and show his true talent. How many times do we see him influence games in England?
Yeah, he's barely ever influenced.
I think he should. It's good he's going to the championship.
Yeah, he should go there.
Because in terms of development, if he goes there, he's definitely going to get there.
The championship not too rough for his style of play.
It is actually very rough for his style of play. He'll get.
That's what I'm saying. Is that not bad for him?
To enter his bones.
Because a player like that, 1/8 year injury and his career could be heading downhill.
Well, you have to learn how to play in a physical environment. Maybe. So it's part of the learning curve. I understand.
That's why they shouldn't have taken him to Southampton. They should have looked at all. How can you go and sell such a young player and not do some future projections as to where you are going?
Because they were last.
They were last at the time he was going there. They were 20th on the league. What made them think that
they've not moved this year?
What made them think that he's not a goal scorer? He hardly assists goals. What made them think that his presence will elevate them to somewhere?
Product is not there.
And the truth is, his status had even diminished at Rennes before he was sold. He was not getting games as much.
But that's part of the reason why I don't have a problem in him playing the championship, because we call up championship players the Black Stars. So for one thing, it doesn't mean that he shouldn't be playing in the Black Stars. There's championship players who are playing the Black. So it's not a big deal. If he goes there, he's the main man. There's a lot of game time. They'll be looking at him to get them promoted. And usually what we've seen...
Can he show that kind of pressure?
We'll see, because the level has gone down a bit. And that responsibility, if the team settles, what we've seen this season is from Fulham and Bournemouth. When a team is a bit settled and they come and they add a few quality additions, they are better off than Nottingham Forest, who have bought everybody in the world and everything has to kind of... So if Southampton kind of rejig their squad, build a decent base, get promoted, make some sensible additions, I think they'll be better placed to challenge the Premier League when they come back up, rather than where they were, where they kept selling their best players. And that's part of why they went down, because they didn't buy any experienced players.
They made good money. Look, if you accumulate the money,
sold Van Dijk.
From money, Van Dijk, look, Shaw, mention them. A lot of their good
They have one of the best. But you see,
I sold these guys for huge sums of money.
But you see, if you're at that point in the Premier League, it is part of the game. You cannot hide from the fact that you sell your players. But it's the way they replace.
With the amount of money that is given to these Premier League teams, you should not be overly concerned with selling your good players.
And even if you are selling,
you should replace.
You definitely lose some, but I think their method of replacement, they were a bit too cheap.
They're trying to be stingy.
That's what I'll say. But I'm saying that the new ownership seems like they are trying to change that, because they spent decent money on their players, but They went.
They were buying the wrong type of players.
Yes, that's
young boys hoping to.
So if you look at someone like Bela Kopcha, who has even been called up for Germany, is a very talented. There's a lot of talent in Romeo Lavia.
So you see, if you buy a player like Bela Kopcha, you need to get him an experienced player.
Exactly.
To partner him. You put two inexperienced players.
I have a feeling. I have a feeling that teams are about to raid Southampton.
No, they'll have to lose some.
I'll be shocked. I want team even. He's far better than Maguire.
So he's actually
very
highly rated.
Good cash, bring him.
Yeah, very highly rated.
He will understand him.
He's not more than
Bela Kopcha is 20 years.
Yeah. So a lot of these players are very. I think a lot of teams could do Romeo Lavia.
Yes.
I think Arsenal. We've been talking about them having a backup
Caicedo,
number 6.
Yeah.
The midfielder.
That's the one. Yeah, Romeo Lavia
from Man City. He's not going to go to the relegation. He's not going to play in the Championship.
You could see him going to Arsenal as a backup. United as a backup.
Liverpool could use it.
Liverpool could use it.
Yeah.
There's so many teams in the
that
top
could use
6, and it's so strange that you have these quality players in Southampton, but they can't get. And it's the inexperience of the team.
So you have them. The only very experienced player in that team is the captain.
Ward-Prowse,
He alone cannot do everything.
All the work, yep.
And I'll be honest with I think Ward-Prowse he's a good player, but he's not going to make waves in the top 6.
Nope. He's a role player in the top 6.
Yeah, exactly. So I think for him, he might prefer to go down because of his loyalty.
No, he will.
We'll see how that plays out.
I would have him at Man United all day because of his set piece.
That's what dead ball.
As a squad player,
of course, a squad player for Man U.
Interesting.
That's fair.
Let me hear what listeners have to say. What do you think Kamaldeen should do? Should he go down to the Championship? Should he agitate for a move? What should Salisu do as well? Let's take our next batch of highlights and let's get to that game between Aston Villa and Spurs. Now, Aston Villa, like I said, are knocking on the doors of European football. It's pretty tight in that space. They were up against Tottenham, and then we'll check out Manchester United versus Wolves. United, like we said, are looking over their shoulders a little. They say that it's not a problem. They'll deal with it. They'll win their home games. They'll wrap up that top 4. Back-to-back highlights of those 2 games. We'll come in studio and discuss. Welcome back. Let's get to that Aston Villa versus Tottenham game. Let me start with you, Susu. It's very, very touchy for Tottenham at this point. They look like they had top 4 wrapped up at a point. Now they are fighting for a Conference League spot. Can they see this too? They have some tough matches to finish the season as well.
I think behind Villa, they just have to match Villa's results. Kind of, because Villa are 2 goals behind them in terms of goal difference. They're on the same point, so they just have to match Villa. I think Brentford are about 4 or 5 points behind the 2 of them. Yeah. So Brentford have a lot of ground to cover.
Now they play Brentford in their next game. That's their next match.
And then their last game
is against Leeds United.
Someone in the relegation, yes. So look, they should be able to beat Leeds. Brentford is the one I'm not sure of, because Brentford, it depends on their day. Brentford are a bit inconsistent, but on their day, they are very difficult.
They'll play you off the park.
Exactly. Yep. So, and we have to give credit to Harry Kane. He missed a big chance earlier. We saw in the highlights. He scored his penalty, but look, he's scoring a lot of goals this season. He scored 25, 26. You see, I feel bad when
27.
He'll be winning the Golden Boot.
He's on 27.
Easily winning.
I mean, last season's goal scorers won it with less.
23.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's already on 27 goals.
It just so happens that there's one.
Haaland is on 36 now.
Exactly. It just so happens that someone has decided to have the best goal scoring season in Premier League history. So we are not even talking about Harry Kane. And at this point, I think this season is a big example of why he should leave. I think he's wasted enough of his talents there. He's become their record scorer. Yes. He's done all of these things.
And he'll be 30 in June. And
they've not won anything in that time. Yeah. I think he should try. What player can I think of? He should do like a Kevin Garnett and find
maybe like a Robin van Persie.
Yeah, I was giving a basketball reference. Okay, but that's a good example. A Robin van Persie kind of.
After suffering scoring goals into the vacuum, you decide that you are going to play for a team that will win you titles.
Exactly. I think at 30, he's given enough. Especially considering he came through the academy. What more do you want from him? He's come, he scored more goals than any player in the history of the club. I think that's enough service. Yeah. I think that's enough service, because I think the club has not been run well enough to win him the trophies. I think they've had moments where they've come close, they've let themselves down in some situations. Yeah. But overall, I don't think they've consistently had enough talent for me to say they definitely should have won a trophy. So I think he should go to a team that's definitely in their hands and looking for a striker. I think he should join Chelsea or Manchester United, in my opinion.
See, they are not in the Champions League.
Yeah, it'll be hard for him to go to Chelsea. And Chelsea have this rivalry going on with Spurs, you know. I mean,
I think Chelsea should do it because, you know,
Poch and
the reason they have this rivalry is because back in the day when Jimmy Greaves started his career, before he went to become Spurs top scorer, he was scoring goals for Chelsea. And Spurs, the biggest team at the time, came to take him. So I think Chelsea, it's time to get your revenge.
Well,
you see, if they will be in the Champions League next season, with Mauricio Pochettino becoming their head coach,
it would have been an easier choice to make.
Very pleasing to Harry Kane to go for the best. As it stands, there's only one team that he can join. That is Manchester United. But personally, I don't want him to join United.
Because of the age?
Yeah, because of the age, the longevity of the matter. If United can get Victor Osimhen, then...
Your campaign has been strong.
Yes, look, to be honest, and that is why some of us are hoping
that the Qataris coming.
Sheikh buys the team, because that will be the marquee signing. No two ways about that. But again, if you looked at, you see, so talk about Spurs beating Leeds United. I don't think they'll beat Leeds United.
I said they should.
They should. They should beat. But I doubt whether
Leeds will be out for blood in that game.
Look, that game at Elland Road, if you've been there, I hear they are inviting everybody. They are inviting Antonio, everybody. They want to bring every spirit on that day because they believe that is going to be the game that will rescue or get them to go to relegation.
And I think Spurs are in a mentally fragile state. The change of coach,
they've checked
the sporting director.
It will be better for them if they don't even go to Europe next season.
So they can properly get their house in order.
And that's the thing. I think the Spurs fans are divided on that. Some of them want, okay, let's go to a conference league. At least it's a lower tier. We've been playing the Champions League for a while. If we're in the conference league, we can win that one. That's the mentality of some of them.
The Thursday, Sunday football may not be good to them. But like I told you last week, United will wrap up Champions League football.
Talk to me about that. United, on the day, I don't know, they look like they are still laboring to score goals. It's not, they are creating chances, they are just not clinical enough. And when you play big teams, this will be problematic.
Yeah, it's been problematic throughout the season. But at the end of the day, look, Ten Hag has done miraculously well to get Man United where they are. Because I say so because last season was the worst season in United Premier League history. Ten Hag came in. Look, at the end of the season, or at the beginning of this season, if you were to ask me, what realistically would I believe would be a successful season for United? I'll say, look, give me Champions League football. That's all. But here's the case where he's won the Carabao Cup. He's in another domestic cup final. And Champions League, in my view, is wrapped up. Like he himself did say during his interview that last season it was much more difficult convincing players to join. But of all the players he wants to join that he has spoken to, they are ready to come on board because they believe in the project. His only problem now, he doesn't know the money that will be given to him. Somebody say, give me the team, I give him 500 million pounds to go and spend. Another person is saying 50, 20. They are not putting anything on the table. That we will discuss another day. But the fact of the matter is this United team, having played the most games in Europe this season, or at least in the EPL, for them to have been, to do whatever, they put themselves in a situation where they have their own destiny in their hands. Credit must be given to the manager. Yesterday, the football was at times very sublime. The manner in which, look, Wolves didn't have a shot on target, and that confirmed David De Gea as the Golden Gloves winner for the season. He's kept 16 clean sheets. This is a goalkeeper who most people think should be sold, and I believe that is not an emergency position to address in the team. This team needs another centre back that will deputize in the absence of Varane. We need another combative midfielder that will complement the effort of Casemiro in big games. Because if you go Casemiro, Eriksen to Anfield, to Etihad, to any of the big teams, look,
that's probably why they've not won any of those away
games. Any of those big games away from home. That's probably why Man United haven't done that. So we need another, like a Moise Caicedo sort of midfielder. Can you imagine that boy alongside Carlos Casemiro in the big games with Bruno Fernandes playing in the number 10.
I think he's very, and I think someone like Caicedo, his on-ball ability is very underrated.
Yeah,
He's a very good dribbler. Player. He's a very good passer, and once in a while we see him hit a long shot. So if you play him next to Casemiro,
he's young as well. He's only just grown.
Exactly, you're not going to lose so much on the offensive end. You can play him as a number 8, convincingly.
Very combative. He'll do better than Eriksen is doing. Eriksen will dominate the smaller teams possessively. But when he now needs to put him a tackle, to win the balls, that is where he's been found wanted. And I think with Erik ten Hag in charge, look, if you're a United fan, you should be happy.
But can I say something before I move on? I disagree with Coach on the De Gea issue. And part of it's also De Gea's...
I say it's not an emergency position to address.
Let's make his point.
Okay, I say part of it's also De Gea's wage demands. Because De Gea is currently one of the top 5 paid.
He's on 375,000
players in the Premier League.
He's agreed.
Almost 400,000?
Exactly.
And he's agreed to reduce that.
Yeah, and part of
Man United, just a minute, Man United had the option to extend by a year, which they said they won't do, compelling him to reduce the amount if he really wants to. He said he wants to end his career at United.
So the first, he rejected a contract offer, which is why the thing is coming up. As of now, he's not signed, correct?
No, they've not signed. They want to, so the news is that everything has been agreed, but this is not a time to be signing contract when you've got a top 4 to compete with, when you got the FA Cup final.
So that was the
Ten
point
Hag said on record, we want him to sign the contract. We want him to stay.
So that was the point I was coming to me, that on those wages, he can't stay on the wages.
No, that's what the wages,
which is part of it. But once, if he's able to take a reduction, I think I would be more amenable to him staying. I've mentioned my issues with De Gea. He definitely needs to kind of...
He's a legend of the club.
But on those wages,
anything around 200,000, 225,
should be decent.
Dedicated 7 should be decent.
Let me read a few messages coming in. This one here is from Eddie from Shell Signboard. Says, I agree with Coach. Kamaldeen should have gone to Leipzig because he would have replaced Nkuku, who was signed for Chelsea. Now, Kojo Star from Pong says, Arsenal are the John the Baptist of the Premier League as they were preparing the way for the Messiah, which is Manchester City. I can't believe this. This one here says that, Ben, if there's a term to define waste, Arsenal is the real definition. They don't deserve to play in the PL. We will draft them into our local league here. Original Langards. Peter Parker from Jolu. With that one. Taylor the Gunner says that, good evening, guys. Today is the day I finally accept that we have bottled the league. The title is gone and I am hurt. We have played months of beautiful football only to end up trophyless like Chelsea. What was really the point then? All the same, Champions League football in the bag. We are Arsenal Football Club. Sir Godwin Boama says that Hurricane will miss a golden opportunity and score penalty goals and will still get the English media linking him to Manchester United. This one here says that Oga from Legon, Ward Prowse could be a very good addition to United, purposely for set pieces. For now, let's get the team sold. Then we can start thinking of all these. You guys are doing good. So somebody thinking along the same lines as Coach. Let's take a break here. When we come back, we have more Premier League highlights, and then we'll dovetail into some different leagues as well. Stay with us. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Citi TV. Let's get to that game between Manchester City and Everton. Manchester City making light work of Everton, and then we'll check out the highlights of Arsenal versus Brighton and Hove Albion. The day when a lot of Arsenal fans finally admitted to themselves that, you know what, maybe this will not go down to the final day after all. Back-to-back highlights coming up. Erling Haaland continues his goal-scoring exploits with Manchester City. Not much to talk about that. Let's talk about Arsenal versus Brighton. Coach, 3-0 at the Emirates. I thought that Arsenal had their dark days behind them and that this was going to be a difficult game, but I felt this was a game they could win.
Look, you see Brighton,
Yeah.
If you are going to play them and you don't show them respect, you will pay. Look, Ten Hag showed that if you are not ready to match them in terms of possession, then you need to be very pragmatic. Wait for them to make mistakes for you to punish them. We saw it in the FA Cup. We saw it even in the game that Man United lost 1-0, where Luke Shaw caught the ball in the 18-yard box. In that game, United had by far the better chances to have won the game. Again, I've always said that the Jorginho do I use the word experiment?
Yeah.
With Xhaka not respecting the fact that it is not Thomas Partey.
Yeah.
Instruction directly from Mikel Arteta. Therefore, keep going back and forth, keep bumping forward like a typical box-to-box midfielder, allowing Jorginho to do the protection will backfire against the quality teams. But in the last 2 games, it's worked to perfection.
Yeah.
So and myself here, we did the analysis of the Arsenal-Newcastle game. In that first 10, 12 minutes, Newcastle should have been out of sight. But once they didn't capitalize and VAR didn't award Newcastle what in my view was an obvious penalty, and Arsenal scored, it is when Arsenal take the lead, then you begin to see the importance of Jorginho. Now, at the Emirates today, they show Brighton no respect. They felt that because Man City had won, all they needed to do was to get on the pitch and go at Brighton and beat them. You see, it is not about the beauty of the victory. We've gotten to the stage where you really do not care how you win the game. At the end of the day, it is the game that you need to win. So if you need to show your opponent a bit more respect to get them to commit and then go and punish them because you are the whole team, so be it. If you look at the game Arsenal played today, they had no solidity. Yeah, that is the word. Solidity in midfield. Caicedo, McAllister.
Those are workaholics by nature.
Those are workaholic guys who were free. They
workaholics who can pass the ball, can read the game as well.
And if one of the tactics that, in my view, De Zerbi actually employed today was to make sure that Arsenal were not given enough time to build any form of meaningful, sustainable attacking play. So anytime Arsenal went 1, 2, 3, bam, if you don't win the ball off them, foul them, break the rhythm. And Arteta started complaining. There, I agree with him because I think that the referee allowed Brighton
to go on with that for a long time.
So what Arsenal also needed to do, they needed that physicality in midfield to counter or to equally be a bit more physical. Jorginho will not guarantee you that. Xhaka is not sensible to do that without getting himself booked. The man who should be doing that is Thomas Partey. But by the time Arteta realized that he needed to introduce Partey, they were already 2 goals down. So Partey is not the type of player who will more or less come and dribble. He will weak and pass, push players forward in their right position. But the game was already gone. And today, look, let me say something. I was very, very disappointed in the faithful of Arsenal who watched the game. They did something that I least expected them to do. They did not wait for the referee. These guys were not meant to win the league. The realistic target of the team has already been achieved. Yes, in achieving your target, if there's an opportunity to raise the bar, you want to take it. But at the end of the day, you look at the inexperience of this team, the lack of squad depth in this team. They are not in the position to actually handle. How many players have won league title in this Arsenal? Apart from Thomas Partey,
the Man City boys.
Yeah, and then the Zinchenko, who is injured.
Zinchenko and Gabriel.
And then Gabriel finished. Thomas Partey won the league with Atletico Madrid. So if you look at them holistically as a unit, the inexperience is huge. So how the manner in which the supporters turned their back and left the Emirates before the look, I think it was so sad, and I think the boys deserve a bit more respect from the true Arsenal supporters. They've achieved Champions League football. You yourself, you
haven't played Champions League in such a long time.
So in the past 6 years, they've never played in the Champions League, and you knew from the commencement of this league that Champions League was your target. At least show them some respect and get them to believe that next season, with better squad depth, they can come and do something better.
I can understand Arsenal fans too. The manner in which the collapse has happened is a little monumental. I mean, you expected that even if you're going to collapse at the end of the season, it was going to be with a fight, but it's not happening like that. Are you worried about Partey though? I'm getting a little worried about him because being benched in 4 games back to back, it's almost like the manager has lost faith in using you at this point in the season.
Well, the defensive solidity of the team has collapsed. That's the long and short of it, because in their 34 games in all competitions, before Saliba went down, they had conceded 26 goals. He's not played for the last about 8 games. They've conceded 16 goals. That's the big change that has happened. So if you're a coach, you are thinking about everyone who's to blame. And I think Thomas Partey has had a few bad games in that run. So he is being blamed.
Sacrificed?
Basically being scapegoated. That's how I see it. Because his form has dropped. He's having to cover more space, having to do more work. So he doesn't look as good. That's not his fault. That's because the drop-off from Saliba to Holding was a big drop. Kiro is not comfortable playing on the right side of the centre-back partnership. It's a problem. So these are the things that are affecting Arsenal. So if you are telling me that a team went from considered 26 goals in their first 34 games, has considered 16 in 8. That's over a third of their goals they considered this season in their last 8 games.
Yep.
Clearly, everything has just collapsed on the defensive end. Then you look at Bukayo Saka. I think he's tired.
He should be highlighted as one of the most disappointing players in the past
he
few weeks.
basically
After
just
signing the 300,000.
He basically just floats in games
and
now.
nobody's mentioning his
Honestly,
name.
I have to say, I think he's tired because at least the other players, there seems to be a bit of competition for their position. So other players, if Martinelli is injured,
Trossard will come in.
Trossard can
What
come
is
in.
Gabriel Jesus offering?
You can see
His
Nketiah.
fire has just dimmed.
You can see Nketiah at least is a central option. Trossard can play central. Trossard can play on the left, but on the right, there's not a viable backup.
There
And
is
he's
James
played-
boy. Is that James?
Reece Nelson.
Reece
Reece
Nelson.
Nelson boy.
Yeah.
I think Arteta
Very
has it.
direct. Yeah.
They should put him on the right. Let him play. He can play on the right. He can play on the left and give Saka some bit of rest. You see, that Arteta's biggest mistake was to stick to the same crop of players
The whole
for
season.
over 26 games unchanged. That's what he did.
Is this collapse?
26
is this,
games
I mean,
continuous.
we've talked about the Saliba injury and whatnot for a long time. Is this collapse on Arteta? Should he have reacted better to those changes?
I think part of it is, yes, in a way. I think his inexperience meant that the system was so finely calibrated that once one player went down, it was difficult for them to kind of get it back up. And you saw that also their build-up is not as smooth when Zinchenko is not around.
Yes.
Because he also relies on Zinchenko to come
Move
an extra
in
midfielder.
midfield.
Tierney cannot do that, but Tierney is a bit more solid defensively. So there are certain games you would think, okay, maybe Tierney is better. But because the build-up is so reliant on Zinchenko coming and being an extra midfielder. Because for me, I think a lot of goals they've conceded in the last few games, Zinchenko has been the cause
And
of
today,
them. But
just a minute. And today, you see, when Brighton was so dominant in midfield, another reason why Partey should have started today was the fact that Tierney would not go in the midfield to go and compete. So the midfielder was only Jorginho.
yeah.
so maybe
And
Xhaka,
Xhaka going
overcrowded
back
in
and
there.
forth.
Maybe
And he
Xhaka
didn't restrict the movement
maybe,
of Xhaka.
maybe Xhaka should, exactly. Maybe Xhaka should have stayed a bit deeper.
So he's coaching.
So a lot of these things, I think Arteta is he's not as flexible as he needs to be. And maybe the players are not as versatile as with other teams. But I think he also doesn't try and be versatile because I think if you know Tierney is playing, you know he can get wide, do things on the wing.
Yeah.
Focus on that. Don't focus on the fact that you are used to your midfielder coming in. Have a plan B. And it's not even a plan B. I'm asking you to have a plan, let me say AB, because you can play a similar way. Just use Tierney a bit differently. Use Xhaka a bit differently. Just kind of tweak it. Don't keep the principles, tweak it a bit. And things, I think his problem is that he doesn't like tweaking. So I think Saka has played way too many games, which is why in the last 2 months, it's like he just can't do it. It's like
His legs are gone.
His legs are gone. And for me, for Gabriel Jesus, we knew what we were going to get with him.
And
we knew we weren't going to get a very efficient goal scorer.
Exactly.
So it's like, I'm not too surprised. Because for me, if he was an efficient goal scorer, they would have beaten Southampton home and away. I think that last 4 points.
He wasted a lot of chances
He
in those
wasted
games,
in those 2 games. And that's fine. But I think for me, I think one thing I'll say after watching this season, I think Arsenal will come back next season. They'll be just as good, if not better. I think they'll still be in the title.
Next season is going to get even more tougher.
But
Because look, I don't expect Liverpool to be this bad.
Liverpool are going to
I
reinforce.
don't expect Chelsea to be this bad. Man United surely will get better. Man City will up the tempo. Arsenal, Newcastle.
I'm even looking at Newcastle and Aston Villa. Those
Exactly.
teams will get better.
And then you see,
I think Arsenal also improve. I think they're also going to go into the market as a Champions League
they'll
club
improve.
and
So-
look for players.
so everything is going to
I'm
get
ready.
even
I'm ready.
tougher.
I'm ready for them to come back for a title
everything is
challenge.
going to get even tougher. And for me, that is where the problem is going to come from.
Arsenal Football Club have it all to do. Interesting times ahead. I wonder how Arsenal fans are basically feeling about the title collapse, having to
Rob
settle
Holding
for top
has to
4.
go. I think they need a way better backup in that right centre back spot because the fact that they've
What I think they
they've
really
not
need
been
to
able
do
to fix it
is to
is
get a right back.
Yeah.
proper right
Play
back.
Tomiyasu at centre back.
And put
Ben White
as
the back.
I thought Ben White was going to play at centre back when he came to Arsenal, and then he became a right back.
But you see, he had to go to right back because Saliba is a better centre back than him. Is
and
that simple?
Ben White, Saliba will be better than
Gabriel.
that Brazilian boy.
Yeah, I think Gabriel makes a lot of mistakes. That's another issue. But look, I think there's a few positions if Arsenal are able. I think one place they really need to upgrade is Granit Xhaka. I think Xhaka has had a very good season, but I think they can do a lot more. I think they tried with Fabio Vieira. We've not really seen much of what he's offered. I think that was 40 million wasted. It happens. I think they need if they get a backup right back, backup right winger, a right back, and someone to play in that Xhaka role.
And you see, Saka too. How old is he? 21, 22?
21.
Look, at his age, his form will undulate.
Yeah.
So you don't get him to carry the burden
of your
That's
team.
why I said the backup is key.
The backup is key. Somebody who can give the young man
and
2, 3, 4 weeks.
You're right. They might not even need to sign someone. They might just have to trust Reece Nelson more. It could be that. But look, I think there's a few tweaks here and there. Maybe using
2, 3
Zinchenko.
tweaks,
Maybe, and another option could even to play Zinchenko as the number 8 instead of Xhaka in certain games and trust Tierney more, because Zinchenko offers that control. Maybe he's not as good getting into the box, but I think there's a lot of room for improvements. And I think considering the jump Arsenal have made, if they make the right signings, reinforce the right positions, things will continue as they are.
Well, a lot to happen for Arsenal. Let's get to the German Bundesliga to finish off. Bayern Munich were up against Schalke. It was not funny. 6-0 is how it ended. Bayern finishing the season really strong. And then Dortmund were also up against Mönchengladbach. Dortmund also trying to match Bayern boot for boot. It might be a little too late, but they're trying to take it down to the wire. Let's check out highlights of those two games. So the Bundesliga going down to the wire. Bayern Munich have Cologne and Leipzig. In fact, they have Leipzig and then they have Cologne to finish out the season. I think that Leipzig game will be the game of their lives. Thomas Tuchel will need to win that game.
I fancy them to win it.
Oh, easy.
They'll go
Easy?
They'll
Easy.
beat Leipzig.
Oh,
I think
easy.
it's away from her. It's away. You see, when Bayern are in this mood, where they know that if they slip up, somebody's going to overtake them. They hardly. With 2 games to go, it's 6 out of 6.
Wow.
It's 6 out of 6.
I expect maybe Leipzig will score, but
You don't expect them to be able to take Bayern down in this crucial moment.
No.
Wow. So Dortmund will do. I think Dortmund will win their final 2 games.
I think Dortmund, where they slipped up was the Bochum game.
Yeah. When they took the lead, when they had the league in their hand.
And to be fair to them, they should have got a penalty
In that game,
late in that game. We'll be fair to them and say they should have got a penalty. But you also don't want to be at the mercy of a referee that need a decision. Because the game is 90 minutes. That one penalty was not the only point you could have won the game.
Let's get to the Spanish La Liga to finish off. Real Madrid were up against Getafe. Barcelona wrapped up the league title against Espanyol, their City rival. So Barcelona have won the Spanish La Liga. Real Madrid have won the Copa del Rey. Real Madrid are in the Champions League final. But let's check out Real Madrid versus Getafe. So Real Madrid winning that game against Getafe. It won't matter though. A much changed side in anticipation of that second leg against Manchester City. Just quick thoughts on Real Madrid, Manchester City. I mean, like I said, La Liga is wrapped up. Xavi has won it for Barca. Congrats to them.
You know the Barca players were chased off the pitch. You know Espanyol, their local rivals.
I know.
So when they won, they were celebrating on the pitch, and the fans were not having.
They were not having it.
So they were in the middle of the pitch dancing. The fans start running on, and you see the Barca players start sprinting into the tunnel. That's just my day.
They had to. Yeah, so
you're not about to celebrate your title on our turf.
So you go do that at the Camp Nou. Not here. At the end of the day, it is what it is. Congratulations to Xavi, though.
Yeah.
I think he deserved it over.
No, I think Real Madrid just a professional performance. Keep it simple. I think there was a Camavinga doubt. You are hearing he will play anyway on Wednesday. So I think that's the only thing. They made it relatively unscathed. You don't want to lose players to injury. I think that's the thing. You don't lose players to injury. You don't embarrass yourselves.
I think that game will be absolutely crazy.
That's Tuesday night.
Should be Wednesday night.
Wednesday.
It's a flip around from the. So the Milan teams will play on Tuesday.
I fancy them rather.
Real Madrid?
Yeah, I fancy them too.
We'll see how it plays out.
You see,
I think I'm the opposite of coach. I think this is City. If they don't do it this year, I don't think they'll
it
ever
is
do it.
embedded in their DNA. When you are playing against somebody whose DNA is used to inviting such thing gloriously into it, you have to be very careful. They have, you see, if there's any team in the world who can handle such games,
it's Real Madrid.
It's Real Madrid.
The
That is
pressure,
why,
the occasion.
I did say, I think of the two coaches, Pep is the most worried man. And if Bayern Munich were to do something similar to what Bayern did, look, most people are not looking at what Bayern did to Man City.
Yeah.
But Pep Guardiola admitted that until Upamecano made those two mistakes, he was having an emotional breakdown because nothing was working for them. And truth be told, Ederson had made 3 world-class saves before those mistakes. So Wednesday is going to be beautiful.
Big game on Wednesday. Thank you very much, Coach. Thank you, Susu.
I'm still riding for Man City. I think Pep will finally do it.
We'll see how it plays out.
They'll get a nice Milan team in the final and win an easy 2-0.
If it does happen, I'm sure people will say that Pep Guardiola will probably have completed club football. So we'll see how it plays out. If it doesn't, Real Madrid, you know, they have their eyes on the 15th Champions League trophy. 15. Unthinkable to think about. But yes, thank you very much for doing the viewing with us. Thank you for those who sent in messages as well. Forever grateful. Next week, same time, Scorecard will be back on your screens.